All right, we're good to go. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who don't know, today we're talking about all things digital nomading. Joining us today is Gabby. She's a blogger, content creator, marketing strategist, board member of the Black Travel Alliance, who's been in all kinds of publications from Huffington Post, Lonely Planet, the whole gamut. She is an expert at all of this, so give her your full undivided attention and we'll just jump right into it. Gabby, thanks for joining us and take it away.
Great. Awesome. Let me share my screen and present. Okay, great. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to hear me speak today. I'm excited about talking about digital nomading because that's what I'm doing. It is 8:13 p.m. here in Dubai, where I've been for the past 3 months. And I'm excited to do this presentation. So maybe you could be living like me real soon. Let's get into it. These are a few things that we'll talk about today. I'll say who I am, what is remote work, in case it's unclear, why you might want to go remote in 2021, years of all years. This might be the best year for you to go remote, and I'll show you why. What is a digital nomad visa exactly, and how is it different from a tourist visa or a working visa? And I'll explain that. Why are they popping up all of a sudden? And just a few digital nomad travel tips that I have after 3 months in a time zone that is 9 hours ahead of everyone else. Let's keep going. So who am I? Gabby Beckford. I'm 25. It's like my pandemic age though. I feel like I'm still 24 because I kind of got that blip year. Location independent. I'm in Dubai right now and I have a flight booked in 2 weeks to go back to the US. I am a 1 year digital nomad. I quit my job 2 weeks before the pandemic hit. And no, I had no idea the pandemic would hit. So it really was just shot in the dark. But here I am a year later, still blogging, still creating, and still entrepreneuring. And I mean, kind of happier than ever, which is like alhamdulillah. Okay, so what's remote work? Remote work is a work arrangement where employees don't have to go to work physically. And I mean, back in the day, it was called teleworking, but now it's called work from home, remote work. You might see these other synonyms: work from anywhere, flexible workplace. But that just means that you can work from your laptop, work anywhere, and especially in the context. Oh, I'll get to that in a second. Okay, yeah. How do you know when you're ready to take the remote work leap like I am? This is how I knew I was ready to take the remote work leap. You hate your office environment. I was commuting 3 hours a day. I live in the DMV, so I was going from Fairfax to Baltimore every day. So, I mean, that's kind of an extreme case, and it's easy to hate that commute. But you don't like your office environment. I had the best felt like colleagues in my office. So I was like, why do I not like this? It just wasn't it for me. I needed sunlight, needed to be outside. If you don't like your office environment, you might need to work remote and have a little bit more flexibility. If you often think this meeting could have been an email, you may not need to remote work, but you may just be a human being. But that could be a good explanation that you need to remote work. If you absolutely have loved working from home because of COVID, if you were like work from home, yay, yes, perfect, then you might need to remote work. If you think work from home is great, but work from anywhere might be even better, digital nomading and remote work might be for you. And if you're productive in unconventional environments, I think remote work is for you because I have worked from some pretty odd places: airports, beaches, restaurants, the top of the Burj Khalifa. Anywhere with Wi Fi, you can find me sending an email or typing. And so, what is some remote work jobs? If you're in a job right now that has no option for remote work, maybe you're looking just to transition jobs, here are some ideas of remote jobs that you might be looking into. And this is what I meant to say. In the context of the digital nomad visas, especially, a job that travels is not exactly a remote working job. With digital nomad visas specifically, a remote job is one that can be done from your laptop. So you might be a plumber and you may not have an office, and that technically I guess you're remote, but that's not the same thing as working remotely for the digital nomad visa. With the digital nomad visas, you need to be able to work from your laptop and make money from outside of the country that you're staying in, which we will get into in a little bit. But yeah, here are some remote jobs that can be done from Wi-Fi: IT customer service, education, video editor. I need a video editor if you're looking to edit. But yeah, anything that can be done with Wi-Fi is a remote work job. Why should you go remote in 2021 specifically? COVID-19, I think, has changed the work work culture game. It's changed what's expected from us when we work a full-time job or part-time. Hopefully, gone are the days where you have to go into work just to show face when you could have worked from home. Hopefully, gone are the days where, you commute up for one meeting and then you can go back from working from home. Like, I think we in 21 have pushed ourselves and been forced to advance to the point where we're on Zoom a lot, but we're still on our laptops and we don't have to be there physically. So companies all around the world, every type of company has been pushed to at least accommodate remote work in some sense. And even if you're not working remotely right now or interested in doing that right now in your phase of life, you might want to do it in the future. So setting yourself up to have a job that could be remote or is remote now will help you with your future plans. And 2021 is, for better or worse, the most opportune time to strategize and make that happen. Getting into the travel portion, what is a digital nomad visa specifically? You may see it also referred to as a remote working visa. Those are the same thing. Remote work, digital nomad, those are the same type of visa. Now, remote working visa is a permit to live and work in a foreign country, usually without being subject to that nation's tax laws and without having to immigrate or apply for residency and citizenship. So it's basically like you're living there. The average remote work visa is 1 to 12 months. I've seen some for 2 years. But you basically get to move and live there without all the paperwork, which is great. And why are they popping up all of a sudden in 2021? Because of the pandemic. There were a few before. I think Spain had one for a long time. I think maybe Croatia had one for a long time. Was it Croatia? A few countries have had digital nomad visas before, or no visa requirement for Americans, but they're popping up all of a sudden because of COVID-19, because tourism plays a huge impact in a lot of countries' economy. And when tourism stops, a lot of countries panicked. And digital nomad visas are a good way that they can have people outside of their country, expats, move there, support the local economy by spending money in rent, buying food, supporting local businesses, things like that, while they're making money from the outside and pushing it into the local economy. So that's why I said you could be a plumber, you could be a travel nurse, that those aren't technically remote working jobs, because you need to be making money from outside the country to push it into the local economy. That's the give and take there. You get to stay there and save yourself time on the paperwork, and they get the boost in economy that they really, really need. And most of these countries are countries that rely heavily on tourism. You'll see them in the Caribbean, we'll see them in Africa, we'll see them in Eastern Europe. We'll get to that soon though. But that's why they're popping up, which, I mean, it's a good give and take to me. It seems fair to me. And that's why I'm in Dubai. Dubai is one of the countries that has a remote work visa. Which countries are offering them? More than 20 countries, so more than I could make a long list here. But there are a lot of them. You'll see them in more than 5 regions around the world. The Middle East, like I said, Dubai is one of the countries. In the Americas, in the Caribbean, in Africa, and in Europe, all around Europe. And yeah, what are some digital nomading tips? Actually, maybe I think I'll take this time to go to the next slide. Yeah, so what I want to tell you is that there's 20 countries, more than 20 countries, and they change every single day. That's why I made this Go Remote guide. It's an ebook. It tells you which countries have the digital nomad visas, what the rent is like in those countries, which is something that you really need to keep in mind. The time zone changes, which is something I highly recommend you look up before you move somewhere, because like I said, being 8 or 9 hours ahead of East Coast time is one thing, but being 12 hours ahead of Pacific Coast time is another thing. Having interviews at 4 a.m. is not as fun as you think it is the third time around. But yeah, I made this resource so that you don't have to do all the Googling that I did before I came here to Dubai. And yeah, the rent amount, the Wi-Fi signal strength, the things to do there, tips to moving there, even as specific as, is it safe for Black people, which is something that I Googled a lot before I moved to Dubai. I have in my guide, so I want to make it available to you guys. But that's where I want to go with these digital nomad tips, which I also have in my guide. Ways that you can save money. My number one way that I have shared is house sitting. I am not in an Airbnb right now. I am in a house that does not belong to me. I'm house sitting. There's a big pregnant cat next to me because I'm also pet sitting while I'm house sitting. And it's a great way to save money, especially in places like Dubai, where the average rent is $2,000 to $3,000 a month for a 1-bedroom in the marina, which is in the really touristic areas. But if you want to save some money, if you want local connections that help you get around when you're digital nomading, especially if you're on the visa, you're going to be there for a long time, have house sitting is a really great option. And Trusted House Sitters is the number one house sitting option. You've probably heard of it, but definitely write that down. You want to keep that in mind. Number 2, beware the time difference. I really can't stress that enough. I have been caught on some 4 a.m. meetings a few times, but just make sure you understand the time difference of where you're going. And maybe 12 hours actually is sometimes more convenient than 9 hours can be. The last thing you need to do is check the Wi-Fi strength of where you're going. I came here to Dubai, actually only intended to be here for 1 month. Then I was going to go to Bali. Bali didn't work out because they closed their borders as soon as I landed here, which is another tip. You need to be really flexible this year with your digital nomading. But then I was going to go to Sri Lanka, and in Facebook groups, I'm in a few digital nomad Facebook groups. People immediately recommended to me, oh, before you choose your next country, check the speed test. Obviously, Dubai is kind of obvious that it'll have good Wi-Fi, but I was going to go to Sri Lanka next, which I've been to before actually in 2016. And people said, oh, the Wi-Fi is really iffy there. So if you're looking to go to Sri Lanka, make sure you speed test your Airbnb, where you'll be going. Like, ask the host to speed test before you book the Airbnb. And I was like, that's so brilliant, because I, as a digital nomad, work from my laptop. And if there's one day that cuts out the Wi-Fi, that means losing money for me. So make sure that you check these main tips. And yeah, that's really it. That's really what I wanted to share with you guys, that digital nomad visas are hotter than ever in 2021. They are expanding every single day. When I originally wrote this guide, the first iteration of it in January, there were 14 countries. Now there's 20, 22. So every day they're expanding. I think they're going to be around for a long time. They, like I said, the working culture, I guess, work culture has changed a lot, where I think even if the pandemic somehow disappeared off the face of the earth tomorrow, we are in such a work from home and remote working culture now that I think like working digitally and being a digital nomad is still going to be more of an opportunity than ever in the next few years. So I think that these visas are here to stay and that you'll be able to take advantage of them. So why not at least start looking into it this year? If you're not ready to take the leap, start planning, start plotting, check out the Wi-Fi strength, see which countries are adapting to digital nomads specifically, because we're kind of the boost in tourism right now. We're really essential for tourism right now. I think that's something to be excited about. And yes, if you wanted to travel, you should be as safe as humanly possible. I get tested every 2 weeks here in Dubai, which is one of the reasons why I chose it, because they have a strong healthcare system. But it's possible to travel. It's possible to travel consciously, and you can do that through the digital nomad visas. So that's why I want to talk today. I'm happy to do a Q&A now.
Yeah, so I've been collecting questions. We got a couple here.
Awesome.
Sort them out. And folks, if you have more questions, throw them into the chat and I will go through them. So the first one, Gabby, VPNs. Do you have a preferred VPN? Do you use several? What's that?
I do.
And can you, for anyone who doesn't know what a VPN is, can you give a quick summary?
Oh my gosh. Do I know what VPN stands for? Virtual Protected Network? I'm going to hope that is it.
Super close. Virtual Private Network.
Oh, dang. It's like a knock on my digital nomadness. Virtual Private Network, it is very popular for digital nomads to have VPNs. I have a VPN because here in Dubai, for instance, you can't make calls on Facebook call or on WhatsApp without a VPN. And what a VPN does is you have your individual Wi-Fi signal or like identity as a computer, as a technical person. What it does is say, Gabby's not in Dubai, she's in LA. So I go on the app, I choose Los Angeles, and it will reroute my signal to LA and then back to the app that I'm trying to connect to. It's really convenient. It's not illegal. It's very legal. It's very convenient. And I use Surfshark, which I'm happy to send in a follow-up email if I can do that. Surfshark is my favorite. I think I paid $30 for a year. I think I paid something really cheap. It's really convenient, and maybe I can show you an example here if my phone will open. This is what, right here. This is what the app looks like right here. So I'll click on it, and I'm on my VPN right now, actually. I am in Los Angeles for the past hour, and it's just that simple. So I'm disconnecting. and you can choose from a list of locations. So anywhere you want to go, any country you end up in, you're like Australia, does Surfshark work? In India, does Surfshark work? Yes, it does. So hope that helps.
Yes, as travelers will know, if you've ever been to countries like China or many other countries block certain websites as well, so you can't use Facebook or so. Regular folks use VPNs for that, but as a business person, when you have a business, you always need to have that access. So I always use VPNs when I travel, even when I'm at home. Can't recommend them enough. Super cheap, $3 a month, $5 a month kind of thing. So definitely check them out. Another question, a few of them relating to healthcare coverage. What do you do? That whole mess. I know healthcare in the US is the whole thing. So can you maybe give people a little glimpse into how you navigate that as a digital nomad?
So you can get travel insurance, and luckily we're a year into the pandemic, so a lot of insurance policies have evolved to include COVID-19 insurance. Whereas when the pandemic first hit, most of them were like, no, not COVID. So World Nomads is a very popular travel insurance. I'm not sure it's the most affordable. I, as a young person who recently graduated, use ISIC, which is ISIC. It's specifically for people, for students, and then people under 30, and then there's a teacher's version. So that's what I use. I also have insurance back home, which I upgraded to be international for just in case reasons. I think I use Cigna, and that costs $200 a month. Not the cheapest, but not the most expensive. But I do recommend having travel insurance. Here in Dubai, you can get travel insurance if you get the residence ID. And if you get the digital nomad visa, health insurance is included in that, I think in your application price, I'm pretty sure. But getting health insurance here is very common. There's, especially in places like Dubai that have been designed for people to come in and out of for years, getting health insurance is a pretty convenient process. Yeah. Or if you have a job, a job where you don't work for yourself, if you just have a job that you can do remotely, hopefully you have insurance for your job. And then you can, don't be afraid to actually talk to your boss about that. If you are at a company that's super cool, like Google, and will let you travel, don't be afraid to talk to your boss and say, I'm going to be international. Like, what are my options with my health insurance? Talk to HR. They're there for you.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a quick link in the chat for other companies. I know off the top of my head, World Nomads and Safety Wing have COVID coverage to certain degrees. And Safety Wing is also, because I had to help research them all, Safety Wing has like good digital nomad plans for anyone looking, but compare all the prices because all the prices will be different, all the coverage will be different. It's especially for you Americans who have to navigate your own national health plan stuff. So yeah, it's a mess, but it's definitely not as hard to figure out as people think.
Yes, and it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, especially now.
Yeah, when I just put a company in, IMG Global is what I used when I was working remote. They have good sort of expat style plans. So that's one to check out. How do you begin the visa process? Do you have to go to the embassy? Is it online? What's the paperwork side of things like?
Most of the applications for the visas are completely online because they're digital nomad visas. It would be kind of a mess if you had to go into the embassy to apply to all of them. I think there is one country, maybe it is Croatia, that they're kind of slow on the uptake and you have to have someone go into the police station or embassy in person. But luckily, in my Go Remote visa, or in my Go Remote guide to 2021, I have linked every single application page in the guide. So most of them, 99% of them, are online. No worries.
Cool. Way easier than traditional visas.
Right?
What about
less paper, less speed?
Exactly. What about things like taxes? Is there anything people need to do differently as a digital nomad?
So one thing that I like to take advantage of as a digital nomad, well, I'm hoping to take advantage of this year, is something called foreign exclusion tax, which means that if you're a US citizen and you're outside physically of the United States for more than 330 days of the year, so if you're only in the US for 1 month collectively, your days could be scattered, but 1 month total, then you don't get taxed on the first $107,000 of money that you make of income, I'll say. So that's a good exclusion class. If you're a digital nomad and you're at that point in your brand and business that you're making that much money, that might be something to consider. If you're only going to be in the US for 2 months, maybe knock it down to 1 month, save some tax money. Otherwise, like I said, most of the digital nomad visas are designed so that you are making money outside of the country, meaning that you are not subject to the local tax laws of that country. I'll say that as a general blanket statement, but definitely read the fine print of every country that you look into their digital nomad visa about. And most often, because like I said, they're online, they know people are digital nomads. Most of those websites are designed to be user friendly. Look in the frequently asked questions, because that is a very frequently asked question. Yeah, I think that would be the only thing. As an American, that's my perspective. If you're Canadian and you're on here, if you're from someone else, you have different rules.
When it comes to applying, is there sort of a general average cost that sort of, what can people sort of expect to pay for a digital nomad visa?
From my research for the guide, there are some that are completely free. Mexico is visa free, so it's not a digital nomad visas per se, but it's visa free for up to 6 months, so you don't have to pay. Republic of Georgia, visa free up to 6 months, you don't have to pay. I've seen a few of them that are maybe $60. And then the highest I've seen, I think, is the Cayman Islands, which is ridiculous. You have to make so much money every month to be able to apply. And that maybe is like $400. So really $50 to $400. The average I've seen maybe is like $150.
Okay. So yeah, a worthwhile investment if you're going to be there for several months.
Yes.
For sure. Do you have to, let's see, I'm just looking over the questions here. So why would somebody, if as a digital nomad, I could essentially go into whatever country and not tell them and just do my thing. So what's the case for not doing that? What's the case for applying for a digital nomad visa?
I had this slide in here and I think maybe I took it out, but I had a slide exactly on that. And the case study that I will use, I'll just talk about it briefly, is 2 girls. If you're on Twitter, you know this drama, but 2 girls were living in Bali. They got trapped there before the pandemic began. So they got special allowance from the Balinese government to get a tourist visa, all the stuff, whatever. They made a guide, an ebook, similar to this, the one that I have, about Bali and what to do there and how to get into the country. And like, this is how we did it. We applied this visa and it wasn't that strict. Like, it's fine. Yeah, they got deported from Bali pretty quickly. So the case for not doing that is that you'll likely be found out because other people are following the rules and you're not, and it's only a matter of time. So there's that, and it will ruin your plans. And if you want to go back to the country, maybe you'll have issues doing that in the future. So why risk that? The second thing is, yeah, most of these countries have these digital nomad visas for a reason, economically, to track the foreigners who are coming into their country, to track like COVID cases, to boost the local economy. Like to be registered for a digital nomad visa is kind of the least you could do if you're really, especially if you're in a country that's really struggling economically. Like Dubai has 3-month visas that cost a lot of money, but they're not digital nomad visas. So maybe you just do those 3-month visas, they add up to a year and it's not a big deal because you're doing it still legally. But in countries like Antigua, countries like Kenya, maybe they really need the economic boost, and maybe they have a COVID situation where it's in your best interest that they're tracking you and helping you and supporting you in your digital nomad life. So yeah, maybe we just follow the rules. Maybe it's just easier.
Totally. Yeah. You don't want to, if you're going to be posting online, it's not worth looking over your digital shoulder before somebody cracks down and kicks you out.
Exactly.
Excellent point. When it comes to applying for these visas, what kind of paperwork or like what kind of questions are asked? Do you need to provide like an income or like proof of residency somewhere else?
Yes.
What's generally what's important?
Very often they will ask you to have a base, not very often, I'll say maybe for half of them that I've seen, they have a base income that you want, that they want you to have. So for example, I think in Antigua, I don't have it, my Go Remote Guide has all of this, but I think in Antigua it's $3,000 a month in salary, and then you need to have that documented for 3 months. So that could be your bill statement, it could be your income report, it could be your P&Ls, something like that. Dubai, you have to make $5,000 a month in income and have that tracked for the last 3 months to be able to do that. So again, I think half of them have that requirement. Not so many of them are as high as $3,000. I think maybe 1,000 in the countries that require it. Maybe $1,000 is what I've seen. Then again, in Iceland, I think they required you to have close to $8,000 monthly income. So it really varies. But like I said, half of them don't have that strict income requirement. Other questions they ask are, how many people will you bring? The visa cost actually does vary depending if you're coming with your family or not. I think if you're coming with your family, the price per person is a little bit lower, and you can bring, I think, up to 4 members of a family. How many people you're coming with, your normal, how long you intend to stay, where you're going to be staying, the type of remote work you're doing. Yes, your past income for the past 3 months is as far as they ask that. I haven't seen anyone ask for like the past year, because I wouldn't be able to apply. Yeah, I think that's it. It's pretty standard, and most of the time they just want to make sure that you're actually working remotely and making income outside of that country.
Right. Cool. Besides trusted house sitters, do you have any other suggested companies for finding house sitting or pet sitting gigs?
I just had a few people tell me. I will tell you what I do, and it's a Facebook group. It's called Digital Nomads Around the World. Go in there. There's 142,000 people in there. Go in the search bar and type house sitting, and you will see an infinite number of results. I think someone suggested Away With Us. I think that's what it was called, and that's specifically for pet sitting, house sitting gigs. And you'll see most commonly the reason people want you to house sit is because they have pets. So it's pretty cute. It's worthwhile. This is the pregnant cat I'm house sitting. So go into that group. Again, it's Digital Nomads Around the World, and all your questions for house sitting will be in there. They talk about it all the time.
Excellent. Cool. We're actually going to have, for everyone interested, just in the process of setting up one of these events all about house sitting.
Oh, nice.
For the future. It'll be just house sitting. So we know there's a big demand for that. So just stay tuned. Question about COVID and digital nomading. Where do you get information about like the restrictions, guidelines, all of that stuff?
On the application pages for the visas, they're pretty explicit about the COVID-19 like safety requirements, and no one's in denial that we're still in a pandemic. Now they have information about vaccines. So maybe in the future, vaccine tourism will be a bigger thing. But yes, if you go to any application page, they're going to be able to link you to local COVID health resources. If not, the US and the US State Department page has everything, has at least general information about every country. It may say like level red or level 4 or something like that, but at least they'll link you to more information in local government websites that you can find more about it.
Cool. I'll throw a link in here. That post has information on where you can find resources on a bunch of places, especially Europe, because every country in Europe has its own process. So that link has tons of COVID tips. When it comes to these digital nomad visas, are you allowed to, so you've got a visa for Dubai, are you allowed to like leave Dubai, like do a trip, come back? Is that something you can do for most of these countries if you want to sort of hop around and see the neighboring regions?
Yes, you can. The one that is for Dubai, I think you just have to be here for 6 months out of the year to keep the local residence ID and all the benefits that come with that. And I'm pretty sure that it's even more lax for other countries. Either they don't have, you just have the visa and you do whatever you want with that, or it's like Dubai, where at least just more than half the year, at least 180 days, you have to be in the country.
Cool. And when it comes to, so for folks who, maybe don't have their own company, they work for a company and they want to go remote, do you have any sort of tips or advice or suggestions for people who want to either do more remote or go from remote to remote in a different country, that sort of thing?
The book that I read, so like I shared, I I was working at a job. I was a quality engineer for a government contractor in the US, which is the most like cookie cutter black suit job that you could have. And I somehow got that job to be remote from my laptop, which meant I could go anywhere around the United States. And I did that by reading The 4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. He has an entire chapter dedicated to how to slowly impress your boss enough and like work and like avoid meeting, all this type of stuff that you could be able to work from just your laptop, that type of stuff. So I really recommend the book. It's a great book if you want to have a 4 hour work week. But other than that, like I said, most companies have kind of shifted to at least some form of a remote work model where I think you would just have to talk to your boss or HR and see if that's possible. And if it's just not in the realm of possibilities for you, then maybe you can start looking at a different role in your company that does more remote work. I wouldn't know how to answer that except for hopefully you're doing a little bit remote work now and just keep expanding on it. I said, I read the book, The 4 Hour Work Week, and that included working like first of all, I asked my boss if I could work 2 days a week at home because I have little sisters, and I said, oh, I need to pick them up from school, please. And that was like a stretch, but it started with 2 weeks or 2 days a week. And then I was successful, and then I went into meetings with my boss, and I was like, oh, look at this. I was actually more productive on days at home. Like maybe we could change it to 3 weeks, and that eventually turned into 5 weeks over the course of 2 years. So for me, it was a long-term plan to get to that point. But maybe for you with COVID, it's going to be a little bit faster to be able to say, hey, there's a case for me working at home, less driving, more productive, more with the family. Like, don't be afraid to make a presentation and be like, hey, this is really worthwhile for the company. Make sure you say for their benefit, their benefit, and for your benefit that you may have a remote work job.
Totally. Great tips. Most studies that are coming out now that remote work has been happening for a while are showing that people are more productive at home. So it's definitely, it's a great point. Make sure that they know it's in their interest. What about the question about visas? If you want to, so you have the Dubai visa. If you go back to the US for a month, can you just apply for a new visa? Is there does it have to be a waiting period between, anything like that? Sort of like the Schengen visa where you have to wait a certain amount of days, or can you just apply, reapply, and sort of keep doing that?
Yeah, for Dubai specifically, if you have so for Americans, at least you have a 30-day on arrival visa. For Europeans, it's even better. You get like 90 days on arrival. You just hang out here. So you get your 90 days. If you leave in the 90 days and come back, it just restarts a new 90-day visa. Like people do, it's called a visa run. You do a visa run all the time. So that would restart it. I, as an American, had a 1-month complimentary visa. So I had to pay to extend it to the 3-month. And then, so that's set though. So if I leave, come back, I'm still in that 3-month visa. But once that ends, I'm back to a 1-month. So I can go, come back within the 30 days. That's Dubai. And Dubai's really an international hub for flying. Like DXB is a huge airport. So maybe that's why they have such complicated rules. But I think for most countries, it also resets like that. So you don't have to worry like about a certain amount of time. Schengen, I think, is the only one I've heard of, unless you know.
Yeah, we're special over here in Europe. Speaking of Schengen, do you know, or is it stated in the work visa? So if somebody gets a digital nomad visa for a country in Europe, in the Schengen, are they free to roam all around the Schengen, or can they only stay in that specific country?
If you get a digital nomad visa for a Schengen country, then you can go around the Schengen area. To say that, Americans cannot get a digital nomad visa in most Schengen countries right now. We're pretty much still locked out. Madeiras in Spain has a digital nomad program that I was looking into very heavily. I would like to be in Spain, please. And it was like, maybe technically it's not part of Spain. And they're like, no, Americans, you're still gross. So for now, it's very difficult for Americans to even get into the Schengen. But there are remote work visas in, my brain. Like I said, Croatia, Republic of Georgia, Serbia is a great place to remote work. And maybe it would be easier being in those areas. I haven't made it to Europe this year by myself, but I'm hoping to go. Montenegro has a digital nomad visa. Maybe once you're there, it's easier to get. Maybe by then it'll be easier to get in.
I think Estonia has one as well. I was looking over your book and everything in preparation, and yeah, I know one person who actually got the Estonian visa before COVID hit. Um,
Oh,
so I
nice.
think once you get your foot here in the Schengen,
Hey,
you're pretty safe. It's just getting in is that's the sticking point.
okay, on that point, that's a very good point. I had a tourism board reach out to me and say, "Hey, do you want to work in?" And I think it was Austria. I'm like, oh, I can't get in, but normal tourist visas, Americans can't get in. Business visas are a different story. So if you have very relevant actual business to be done in these countries, especially Schengen countries, that might be a visa type that would let you in. So if you can do that with your business, if you have the option to set up a business partnership with someone in a country that you want to visit, that might be a nice way to get in, get the foot in the door.
Yeah, I think even countries here in Europe, I'm based in Sweden, for those of you who don't know, even countries that are sort of closed right now still are open for business. So you
Yeah.
can, if you do have a business that's been in existence for a while, you can probably wiggle your way in here.
Yeah. Wiggle is a good word for it.
Yeah. I don't see any other questions, so we'll do one last call for, oh, here we go. Can you elaborate any other, for people who are like, I want to be a remote worker, I want to be abroad, I don't know what I should do, how can they go about figuring out like what job they can do or like what jobs are available? Because for most people, this is sort of a whole new world. And that can be a little confusing at the start.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Really, it's like you get to have whatever job you want now and do it from your laptop. So first of all, I would look at the skills that you have right now. Are you a good writer? Are you good with number? Just like basic skills. Are you tech savvy? Did you have MySpace and now you're a coder like me? Like, what skills do you have that you could translate into freelance work? And freelance work is just project by project based payment. So you're on a campaign, you're on a project, you're on a contract, and then it's over. It's like contract work if you know from. So what I would suggest is know your skills. Maybe start developing a portfolio, and you can do that using sites like Fiverr, like Upwork. Get into some Facebook groups. Just hop into some Facebook groups and say, hey, anyone need a website built? I built a website once, and maybe just get a few projects in your belt, build your portfolio, get some reviews on Fiverr and Upwork, and from that you'll be able to make your own money. Start that's how you get the ball rolling. So see what you like, but more importantly, see what you enjoy doing. As a remote worker, you don't want to be at the beach doing something you hate. that's counterproductive to the remote work. Do something you like or love, or at least pays the bills very well, that you can do abroad. And like I said, maybe you just start by going on Fiverr and Upwork and seeing what other people are doing. What are the options? Just go on there like you're looking to hire someone and just see, oh, people edit books remotely, and that's a remote work job. People design logos. I can do brand work, things like that, just to get inspired. And
That's
also, sorry, in the book I have 113 jobs that travel. So if you're looking for ideas.
That's a nice thing to mention. But that's a great point, folks. Go on Fiverr, Upwork, these websites. Those are websites where people can post freelance jobs and then hire freelancers. Go there and see what people are selling, what there's a lack of. Do some sort of market research, because it's I do some freelance work here and there, and it's honestly, if you have a skill, it's super easy to find work. If you're not going to get rich, the pay might be terrible, but it gets your foot in the door. And once you have a client or two, you sort of build from there. So great.
I
advice.
do have a friend who made her first $1 million on Upwork. So it's up to you, really. If you find your groove, you really could. It's not that you're doing this just to barely get by and move to another country and have that freedom. You really could be successful having freelancing and doing that. So I mean, be optimistic. This could be a good chance for you to change careers or change jobs if you're looking to do it.
Great point. Yeah, whenever Matt needs a freelancer, the first place we look to is Upwork for graphic design, logo stuff. We have an editor, fact checkers, researchers, all that jazz. And that's, some of it is highly skilled work. Like if, we need people with a graphic design, experience. But, some of it is I don't want to say unskilled, but it's lower skilled or like easier work to transition to if you don't have lots of experience. So there's lots of opportunities. You don't have to be like a massive expert coder or like have tons of experience with WordPress. You can improvise and figure this out and get on your way to that first million.
Yes, I like it.
What about like meeting people as a digital nomad? Is that something that's easy? Is there any tips you can share for people who travel and might have trouble meeting folks?
I love this. I always talk about this because I'm young, whatever. So people always expect me to meet people, and I like to meet people. I'm also very introverted. So I'm not the first one to like walk into the hostel and be like, jump into a group of 8 people, like, hey guys, I'm your friend now. Yeah, that's not me. But it's generally easy to meet people abroad if you know how to do it in a way that makes you comfortable. So for like me, I'm not going to walk up to a group of 8 people. I like eating alone. Like I'm weird like that. Like I can enjoy a solo trip. But if you want to make friends, Facebook groups, very easy transition. I'll go into a girls love travel or solo female travel or young travelers network or any of those Facebook groups and say, hey, I'm in Dubai and I'm getting comments and messages. Hey, I'm literally 10 minutes away from you. Do you want to get up and meet lunch? Do simple things like that. Commit to like short, like a lunch, and then I have plans, and just see how, like, suss it out, see how you feel in that country, like going around, and that'll help you sightsee too. Maybe start there. There's always an expat community. So if you look up expat community in Ouagadougou, you're going to find expats there. And that could be a great transition into, if you want to get more into local culture, meeting other people there, then who can adventure with you. So maybe you're not going to walk up to the local person and be like, hi, friend. And they're like, girl. So maybe meeting other expats who are in the same situation and understand your lifestyle is an easy transition. For me, it's social media. For me, it's going to be social media. Meetup.com, though, is fantastic. And they don't do, well, they slowed down in the beginning because there's a lot of physical meetups, but now I think they're picking back up, doing socially distant meetups all around the world. So I was doing it in DC. I did it in California when I was there for work. I'm doing meetups here in Dubai, like outside workouts, just casual life things, outside fitness classes, free walking tours are still happening, things like that. Just get out and be open. I tend to have that like face, which is not beneficial as a social person. Try to be open, say hi, give a few people your number. And I do have a tip. I use Google numbers. So my Google number is not my actual phone number. It's a DC number, but I use that when I check into hotels, and I use that when I meet new people abroad, just for ease of mind that they have a phone number of mine. But yes, it's easy to meet people if you want to.
That's a great tip. I've never, Google number is a new one for me. I'm gonna have to.
And as a digital nomad, I actually highly recommend it because I switched out my SIM card here in Dubai, and suddenly every bank and Facebook and account I had wanted text message verification, and I had to keep switching that dang SIM card in and out. So get a Google Voice number, and it will send the text to that number, and you don't have to worry about the SIM card.
That's excellent point. Switching SIM cards is the bane of most digital nomads. So before we wrap up, where can folks get your guide? Where can folks learn more and pick this up so they can jump into remote life and get chilling on the beach somewhere warmer than where they are now?
Dubai is getting a little hot, so if you're thinking about coming to here, it's like pushing 30 Celsius here. But I will drop a link right now that is a discount code for my Go Remote guide. So if you would like to have that, I'm giving 15% off for you amazing people right here. So I'll drop it in here, and then if I can send some information in a follow-up email, then I'll do that too, with a few of the house sitting and travel suggestions I had. But if I can do that, everyone. Awesome. Yes, you can get it there, 15% off. Like,
cool. Folks, you can save that. You can save the chat. If you want to click on the 3 dots in the corner of your chat, you should be able to save it. But we'll send all of this information out on Friday, the link to her guide, any resources she mentioned, all that jazz will get to you on Friday, so you don't have to worry. And then this weekend, you can get started on planning out your new life.
yes.
So
it does come with Q1, like Q2, 3, 4 could all be remote. It could happen for you watching this. Like, I'm very excited for you. And feel free to DM me if you have remote work questions.
Yeah, we'll also put in all of Gabby's social links will be in the email on Friday, so you can reach out if you've got questions or worries, concerns. So we'll send all that to you. As someone who, I was a farmer for 11 years, literally like just I worked on a farm in the fields, and now I'm a digital nomad living in Sweden. So if I can do it with zero skills, and I mean zero tech skills, then all of you can do it and get on your way to that first million. So I'm just going to share my screen for a quick second before we sign off, just to share some reminders. Let's see here. So where are we? We've got a bunch of events coming up. For those of you who don't know, you can check them out at thenomadicnetwork.com/events. We've got talks like today's with Gabby, where we have sort of virtual hosts come and share their wisdom, drop some knowledge. We've got game nights, happy hours, all that stuff to make us, get us excited for when real life happens later in the year and we can finally go outside. And of course, we've got an awesome book club. Coming up next is with the legend travel writer, Rolf Potts. He'll be joining us on the call. So you can ask him questions, pick his brain. We're reading an awesome book if you haven't read it on May 5th. So you can check all that out at thenomadicnetwork.com. That's all from me. Gabby, thank you so much for stopping by today, sharing your tips. I think travel's already picking up, traffic's picking up, people are ready to get out there. So everyone take advantage of all the stuff Gabby shared today. It's an amazing resource, and I can assure you, traveling as a digital nomad, change your life. It's worth learning the skills. And I mean, you could be in slightly sunny Sweden or Dubai right now. So definitely pick up a copy of that book. And Gabby, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. Good luck, y'all. See you around the world.